Greetings. I hope this is working. Let's see the sound. All right, well, I'm going to trust. If it's not working, please let me know. I'm Ophelia, and I want to share a little more information about the upcoming Crystal Bowl Sound Immersion. It's going to be tomorrow evening at the Blue Star Child Gallery on 308A North Mount Shasta Boulevard. It's the art gallery of my dear friend Haruko and her beautiful galactic art. This last week has been an eye-opener in many ways and in difficulties in many ways, but now that Jupiter has gone direct, there's another expansion, and we have Mercury direct, which communications is becoming a little clearer and more understandable. So this is good. So there's three elements, and a lot of people don't understand and not quite sure, how on earth can you work with people playing bowls when they don't know what they're doing? In most cases, they're naive. Most cases, they're brand new. Most cases, men and women, they have been drawn. They say, I'm not sure why I'm here, and I don't know what the bowls are. I've never heard them before, but I'm open. And it's like, thank you so much. That this is exactly what it's about. We have to surrender to sound. We have to be vulnerable, even in our capacity of knowledge. We have to be vulnerable to the sounds and to what we think we know and what we don't know. So anyway, so there's three components to the sound immersion. It is the labyrinth. And I use the labyrinth to sit on because it's a portal. And it's a portal that represents the 8 chakras of the body. Now I say 8 because I've added an 8th path right here, the high heart. It is the power center, our personal power, and it is represented by the color turquoise. So in this particular labyrinth, there are 8 paths that one walks. But in this case, we're sitting on it. And it has the sacred geometries, and it has the geometries of the holographic sound light temple. And then you have the bowls, and there'll be 8 bowls. And no matter how many people turn up, whether it be 2 or 3, whether it be 5 or 6, whether it be 8, 9, 10, 12, I'm allowing, and we allow whoever comes, that you will play all of those bowls. Because it's the bowls and you playing that speak. Some find them very easy to play, and at other times you might find one is very difficult to play. You don't understand why. There's a message in there. And this is part of the expansion that happens during these immersions. I don't like to give too much away in the beginning, because when you walk in, I would like you to have no expectations. Leave them all at the door, because I don't know what's going to happen. That's the magic. The process is pretty the same, but the magic happens in the midst of everything. And so now, in this last week, and we have a full moon. We are blessed by the full moon. I have been visited by the dolphins many times, pretty much every day for the last week. And it has brought up a lot of beauty and a lot of tears. They are in particular the 7 golden dolphins of the stellination of the dolphins. And these come out and are connected, and I'll share a little bit of the work of the stellinations out of Hungary and my dear friends and family in Hungary, in Budapest. The 7 golden dolphins came in a surprising way. There are ceremonies being held in celebration of the 32nd anniversary of the harmonic convergence on August 16th and 17th, 1987, which I remember. It was an amazing, amazing time back then. And you couldn't even talk about all of the psychic and clairvoyant and magical things that happened, because back then you were looked at as a little bit insane. That's okay. But the seven golden dolphins, there is a ceremony that they do in Hungary. And I am allowing the dolphins to show me the closest way to do it with the bowls, through their guidance. And so how it plays out in the actual moment, it will be up to whoever's present and how they are working, and the dolphins are working with us, along with all of the spirit beings and guides that are divinely sent. The 7 dolphins will sync with the 7 bowls of the 432 hertz octave that I have. And the first dolphin is from Sirius B. And the dolphin is there to help us heal our inner child, the wounds that we've had from childhood, and also to help us in our movement forward by clearing those things, to rebirth ourselves in a new way for a higher aspect of healing. The second golden dolphin will be from Maya, from the Pleiades, and Maya is the true healer, and helps with healing and regeneration of, and I have to put my glasses on, I'm sorry, of emotional and physical and the physical body through divine love. The third is Alamak, and Alamak is there to help us play, have joy, and to move beyond our sadness and the fear and the doubt that we have that creates our sadnesses. The fourth is Mirak, and Mirak is the divine messenger to tell us that we are always connected to Source, that we are never alone. And that message was very loud and clear for me this morning. 5 is Kaif, and Kaif is singing the heart song, healing through the punishment and fear that we put upon ourselves that have come from injured souls and cataclysmic events that our soul particles are holding from times past, or in this lifetime, but also times past. Working with divine mercy. And I have in the last week worked with someone that I realized how much Kaif was present in the circle without even realizing it. Alvarez is like the Merkaba. He holds the Merkaba of our travel vehicle to expand our consciousness and elevate the frequency of how we travel and who we are and where we are in this world. And so carrying the message of departing to increase our light energy body through love. And number 7 is Delphinus constellation. And as dolphins, they are not alone. They don't per se live alone, they live in community. And they are here to teach us unity, to teach us, and I believe it's like our own individuality within the community, and how we can co-create and how we can mend our differences and have tolerance and acceptance of others who are different from us. Why would Creator, great God, If we look at through the beginning of the Bible, creates 12 tribes, all completely different looks, cultures, skin, beliefs. This was the intent, to create the 12 facets of diversity and put them there for not for us to have one particular type of color on the whole planet or a whole country, but to learn how to live and be with each other. You don't have to love and like someone or a people's, but to honor them in that space and where they are and how they live and their capacity to give us back what their culture can teach us and show us. We were not the first ones here on any of these countries. There are many who have been before us that were very different to us. We're the travelers, we're the immigrants, we're the outsiders, still, who are trying to be the insiders. So the dolphins will be with us during this time of playing and healing and laughing and tears and joy and questions and answers and everything coming together in our sacred time during this Crystal Bowl Sound Immersion. So anyone who is called, guided, I know it's not for everyone, but I do know that there are those who have a question, who are curious, who would like to perhaps just see what she's doing. Fine, come with an open mind, come with an open heart, and be present, for you are all welcome. In preparing this, I was actually given a reminder of of 3 events that I've had back in 2003, 2004 in Florida with the Dolphins. And I think this is why they are coming, and they've always been with me, but I didn't really know how much they had been with me. And the first little event was when I went on a very strange, unexpected sailboat journey into the unknown to Bimini, which is right on 50 miles off the Florida coast, and it is at the edge of the Bermuda Triangle, the place where things disappear, things happen. And during my time there, I wasn't allowed to leave. It was really fascinating until certain things happened, and one of the things was I was to meet this dolphin communication scientist. Her name is Elise Bailey, and I believe she's in Australia now. And I met her and her assistants, and she invited me. She said, "Do you want to come out with us one day?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." So we went out on a 15, 20-foot skiff with a little engine on the back. Out, I don't know, mile, 2 miles, I have no idea. It was out a long way as far as I'm concerned, out into the ocean to search for the dolphins. It was a very overcast day. It was sort of a weird day. And we didn't see as many as we had hoped. At least as I had hoped. We did see some. But one of the remarkable things was that as we are out in the middle of the ocean, coming up in front of us, there is this perfect circle, huge diameter, must have been, 50-foot diameter, perfectly round circle in the middle of the ocean. And we just stopped the boat, which was like they had never seen anything like this before. And the amazing part is that the ocean waves, were going with the current, whichever, maybe it's this way. The flow inside the circle was going perpendicular to that current. So it was going this way. So the outside the circle was flowing that way, and inside it was going this way, rippling very, very profoundly. I was like, wow. So she had her log, because she logs everything, and started logging it, taking a picture. It's like, this is so strange. I've never seen anything like it. And she said, do you want to go in? And it's like we all, like, absolutely. She timed and wrote down the time we went in on her clock. We gently crossed that line and we were in the center of this circle that had a completely different feeling to it. Totally different feeling. And the boat, everything was weird. She looked at her watch. The hand was going weird. Frequency weird. We looked up, and above us was a mirror of the circle that we were sitting in. If I had been by myself, I would never have believed any of this. But there were 3 of us witnessing this, and she was documenting things as this was happening. We sat in there for maybe 15, 20 minutes. It was a while, just sort of moving around and watching and being quiet and observing, and then felt it was time to come out, so we went out. And the first thing she did was she looked at her watch and she clocked it. And the watch time was earlier than the time she originally wrote that we went in. Freaked us. Very strange. But we were on the edge of the Bermuda Triangle. Needless to say, that made my trip to Bimini very special. The other thing that happened not too long after that, I had some clients that I was working with outside of in a psychotherapist's office. And with this one client, I came to find out she was a pediatric physiotherapist for disabled and autistic children. And what made her different is that she worked with these children in a dolphin program down in the Keys, Florida Keys. And when I asked her about it and she was telling me about it, and I said, oh, it must be amazing to see and feel the dolphins and how they communicate. And her first comment, she looked at me, she said, this is purely clinical. The dolphins are just tools. They are there to help, distract the children that when we are doing our therapy. And I looked at her and I went, are you kidding? No, the dolphins they are communicators. No, this is purely clinical. There is nothing else. They do nothing. And so I was like, okay. So I worked with her as a client, and then I worked with her, and she as a teacher for her Reiki master attunements, all 3 of them. And we'd done the second one, and she said, why don't you come down when I'm working down to the Keys and spend a week or so with me and observe what's happening, because she was starting to see through the Reiki that something perhaps was significant with the dolphins. And so I absolutely jumped at the idea. So I went down there and I spent a week down there. And at this program, it doesn't exist anymore, but it was remarkable. It was in a bay, just in the north part of the Florida Keys, near the research center. And it was there was a cove, a small cove, and the dolphins, there was about, I think, 7 or 8 of them. I think it's ironic, I think there may be 7, I'll say 7 or 8 of these dolphins. And they worked with children. And when I was there were probably, and it's a program that was done through the summer, each summer, and there were probably, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 families, and majority, I think only one was from the US, the rest of them were from Europe and UK. And they would come and spend 1 week or 2 weeks with their disabled, handicapped, autistic child, and depending on the age, from 3 years, I think the youngest one was about 3 years, up to sort of late teens, they would work 1 or 2 sessions a day for about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the age of the child. And they would be with it, each have their own therapist, and they would have their own dolphin. And the dolphins would be matched with the children when they first arrived. It was like they knew. And so certain ones, they had 4 or 3 or 4 families or children and therapists in the cove at one time in different sections. And they had a sort of a radius that they worked with. And there were certain exercises, and depending on the disability and depending on the need, what they would do. They would play with toys or with balls or with splashing waters or different movement of arms and legs and different things like that. But the dolphins were present. And they were brushing up with the children. And the first day I was just observing to get my feel to what was happening. And then the second day I went, there were different, each day there were different, a sequence of children. So I got to see pretty much all of them over these, at different times over these 3 or 4 days that they were working. And the second day I was more observant. I was like, okay, now I know what I'm going to be looking for. And so I picked certain therapists that I would watch. And then I would watch certain dolphins. It might be different. And they were communicating. The children knew it. I would watch how even a child who was severely disabled and, for say, nonverbal or anything, they would swim by and you would see this little hand. And there was a laughter, or there was something that would come out, and the dolphin would come up and would meet them. I mean, they were literally right there, nose to nose with these little tiny ones. It was beautiful. But most of the therapists were like my client in the beginning. Dolphins are just tools. They're beautiful, they're friendly, we love them, but they're just a tool. They don't do anything. And so the third day that I was able to sit and spend time and really take in what I've seen and now look at it from another perspective, I started witnessing some very remarkable things. And there were 2 particular therapists, that one man and one woman, that their dolphins that particular day were working more with the therapists than they were with the children. And I thought that was really odd. But they were swimming around them in a completely different way to what they were doing with the days before with the children and different children. And they were nudging and hitting and moving, and they were touching the therapist's body with their snouts. And then brushing up, and one would go back and forth along the spine of one of them. And then there was another one, the other one, there was something right here, that there was something that this dolphin was focusing on. And so I took all of that in, and then at the end of the session and at the end of the day, after everyone's calmed down and cleaned up and everything, and my friend and I were sitting and chatting, and she was asking me questions, and I said, I need to share something as an observation with you, and it's about a couple of your therapists. And I said, this is what I observed the dolphins doing. So I think there might be an early stage of a health issue with each one of them. And I said, I hope I'm not intruding. And she was like, wow, no. And she didn't share anything, but she indicated that she had heard that both those people were actually, yes, having some health issues. And so I shared a little more of what I observed. And I said, you know, it's not for me to go and say anything to them or do it, but I'm just letting you know, and that this is what the dolphins, were revealing. And at the end of the day, you know, in the evening, where everybody would sit around, and I got to know more of them. And I still wasn't going to share anything like that. That was not, because I knew from my perspective, they were not, those particular ones were not particularly open to my metaphysical view. But we got to know each other around having, you know, camaraderie and things. And they started asking some odd questions. So there was some curiosity about who I was, what I did, and what I saw. And at the end, when I was leaving, you know, a couple of days later, I was leaving, and my friend said, I didn't get it earlier. One day they will get it just like I do now. And so that was so special to hear and see how someone who was so adamant that these beautiful beings did nothing of healing. They were just a tool. Later saw that they actually were one of the therapists in the pool with the children, and perhaps were the greatest therapist. They were just the tool, and the dolphin was the therapist. So I share that with you as for anyone who chooses to hear the story, that you will look at dolphins in a different way, and possibly it might ask, you know, you might feel drawn to come and share the music in the sound immersion, because they will be present, and we'll see what they sing and how they work. So many blessings to you all. Thank you so much. And until we meet again.